Chapter 14. Those houses, my houses, one painted blue, one painted green, one with a back door, one with a front door, one with the yellow mailbox, one with the red mailbox. For well over a century, I stared at them, prim and proper, same small size, same boxy shape, same pitched roofs, and squat brick chimneys. Architectural siblings. It's like a brother and sister house. They look the same. Long before they were a glimmer in some builder's eyes, I was there. Right in the middle of things. If my roots stretched past the property line that separated them, well, that's never been my concern. Roots can be unruly. Mine explored the earth below both houses, pirouetted around their plumbing, anchored their foundations. I spread my shade fairly. I dropped my leaves evenly. I bombed their roofs with acorns in equal number. I did not play favorites. Over the years, many families had called those houses home. That's because sometimes people buy houses and they sell houses, so many different families lived in those two houses. Babies and teenagers, grandparents and great-grandparents. They spoke Chinese and Spanish and English and French. They ate tamales, dim sum, tofu, and grilled cheese sandwiches. Different languages, different foods, different customs. That's our neighborhood. Wild and tangled and colorful, like the best kind of garden. So, actually reminds me a little bit of 255, our school, our neighborhood, right? We have children from all over the world. It's one of the things I love best about our school. A few months ago, a new family, Samar's family, rented the Blue House. They were from a distant country. Their ways were unfamiliar. Their words held new music. So another language, but a beautiful language. Just another transplant in our messy garden, it seemed. Except that this time, something changed. The air was uneasy. Something felt uncomfortable. The parents in the greenhouse refused to welcome the new family. Why? Why? There were polite nods between the adults at first, but then even those vanished. Other things happened. Someone threw raw eggs at the Blue House. One afternoon, a car passed by filled with angry men yelling angry things. Things like, Muslims, get out. Sometimes Samar would walk home trailed by children, taunting her, teasing her. I love people dearly, and yet 216 rings, and I still haven't figured them out. Why would people do things like that? Our neighborhood had welcomed many families from far away. What was different this time? The headscarf Samar's mother wore? Or was it something else? As all this unfolded, busybody that I am, I kept tabs. I eavesdropped, listened. I never interfered, though. Trees are impartial observers. They don't take sides. We are the strong and silent type. Besides, what could I possibly do? I had no limbs. I had limbs, but they could merely sway. I had a trunk, but it was rooted into the earth. It could not be used. My resources were limited. So, too, as it turned out, was my patience. Chapter 15. When you're the neighborhood WishTree, people talk. It didn't take long for folks to learn about the ugly word carved into my trunk. People stopped to stare. They gathered in little groups. They grimaced and shook their heads and murmured. By lunchtime, the police had arrived. You understand why the police had arrived? You're thinking about that? It's almost like a threat for someone to carve into a tree, leave. I am not, as it happens, a stranger to law enforcement. A pair of calico kittens reside across the street. You guys know kittens always get stuck in trees. They love climbing up my trunk to my uppermost branches. Unfortunately, they don't love climbing back down. In the past 2 months, Lewis and Clark, those kittens, have been rescued twice by the fire department and 3 times by the police. Sandy and Max, the same police officers who rescued the kittens just last week, climbed out of their patrol car to check me out. They frowned. They searched the lawn for clues. They talked to the passerby and took photos. Bongo, I whispered. I'm an official crime scene. She was not amused. She didn't think it was funny. The owner of the houses, and therefore technically of me, was the one who'd called the police. Francesca, tall and thin, with short, dove-gray hair, lived across the street. The blue and green houses had belonged to her family for generations. Francesca was also the owner of Lewis and Clark, my intrepid visitors, the kittens. With a grim look on her face, Francesca strode across the street to talk to the police. Lewis and Clark squirmed in her arms. That tree, Francesca said to Sandy, who was taking notes on a little pad. It's been nothing but trouble for as long as I could remember. Francesca has not been the sentimental sort. She likes cats more than she likes trees. How could trees be a bother? That's what I'm thinking as I'm reading. I hope you're thinking as you read, as we read. To each her own. I happen to like trees more than cats. Oh, but people love the WishTree, said Sandy. She looked me up and down, although I can imagine it's a lot of work for you. This year, the day after the wishing day, I swear I'm going to cut that thing down, Francesca said. It was true, but I knew Francesca didn't mean it. She and I went back a long time. The cleanup isn't the worst of it, Francesca continued. The things people wish for, the craziness. Last year, someone wrote, I wish for chocolate spaghetti in a permanent marker on a pair of underwear tossed up high. Okay, I'm going to stop in the middle of the chapter, and in a few minutes, I'm going to finish it. I hope you're enjoying the story, and I hope you're thinking.